Good morning, everyone. Today we have with us Sanjay Sahay sir, who is a 1989 IPS batch from Karnataka cadre. Sir has worked at various levels and also has many more accomplishments to his name, who has served with high degree of professionalism in wide and varied professional assignments. Sir has served as SP, Superintendent of Police, Inspector General of Eastern Range, headquartered at Davangere, and has also served in various UN missions in Kosovo, Yugoslavia, Southern Sudan, and also has headed Karnataka Police digitalization projects such as State Crime Record Bureau's digitalization, police communications on 4 occasions, and he has been credited an enterprise resource planning software which works for the police department based on the .NET platform, and has also worked on various digitalization missions. And currently, sir has took VRS, and he was the founding chairman of the Karnataka State Police Electronic Systems Validation Committee, which was created in October 2013. And he has also headed so many advisory committees, such as, for example, Maharashtra Cyber Security Program, and he was also national coordinator for BPR, BP R&D's research project on effectiveness of CCTV in law enforcement. And sir recently in March 2021 took voluntary retirement from the service and is now working on security network system. And recently he has co-founded a TechOn Private Limited, which is a technology aggregator. And he has also been one of the founder and mentor of the Center for CCTV Research Center at RV College of Engineering. It is an immense pleasure on behalf of India for IAS. I will welcome him for the today's session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So thank you for the liberal introduction, and I also thankful to Mr. Srinivas for organizing this particular lecture. So with the small background which has been provided to all of you. So primarily what we will get into today is to understand what is the interview framework and also to understand as to where you are located in your journey towards recruitment into the Indian Civil Services. I'll give you some snippets of my life from where I came and what I do and what I've been able to do in the civil services, why I got out of the civil services, and presently what is my journey. So out of this, you can make out as to where you stand and what is the manner in which you would like to prepare for the interview. And suffice to say that your component of the interview, I think 275 marks, 5 or 10 or 20 marks, would make a phenomenal difference to your ranking and then to your service and finally to your life. So this is broadly where you are positioned right now. So I'll give you an overall picture as to where I come from. I started from called Daltonganj in Jharkhand. And from there, I reached St. Stephen's College in Delhi, and I got into customs and central excise in my first attempt, and then got into the police. Third attempt, I took my preliminary, I cleared it, and after that, I didn't continue pursue with my third attempt. So that is the part how I got into civil services. Then I was in the police. I worked in Karnataka. I worked in Yugoslavia. I worked in Sudan. I worked in lots of areas. And over a period of time, I started developing interest in technology. Otherwise, I'm a history postgraduate from St. Stephen's College. So I got into technology. I've created, I think, one of the best infrastructures in technology in police in India. And I'm a renowned name in e-governance across the country and have been helping and running projects for a large number of organizations, public, private, government, and the like. While I was doing these computer projects in Karnataka, slowly I developed interest in technical documentation. And after that, in cyber security, slowly I got into professional public speaking. I am ranked one of the top professional public speakers in the country. And after that, I got into writing, and I've been writing a daily post, which you can take as a reference point. I think yesterday was my 1764th post, starting from 26th of September. Not precisely for what I write and what my capability is, precisely for your very focused approach that you will be able to get huge amount of technology stuff, which is purely curated on management, on governance, on COVID. I think you might get 30, 40 articles on COVID itself and give you a very objective and empirical analysis as to the things which you would be looking for at the end of the day, what they require in the interview. I'll tell you as we move forward. So 2 ground rules we will take, that it is an interactive session. So it's open to you, can stop me at any point in time. I will generally try and finish the whole thing in 45 minutes to 1 hour. After that is Q&A. It's not that what you are asking is not relevant to the other people who are here. It will be relevant to each one of you, because primarily you are going to take the same exam. Interview is also an exam, so you're going to take the same exam. And whatever snippets you are able to gather and whatever the time duration you have between today and whenever your interview is scheduled, so that will make a monumental difference as to where you finally land, whether you land or not. And the service which you get into, there will be people amongst you who would be in, I think, different attempts. So that also makes an impact. So broadly, we will get into the governance structure, and then I'll first put my credentials in place, that how do I qualify to be an interview coach. So the governance structure in this country is very, very complex, and which you hear on a regular basis. It is cooperative federalism and the Constitution of India. You have the 3 tiers of governmental administration, starting from your union level, you come to the Panchayati Raj level. So this complexity is there. The duties which are assigned, you would have been hearing in the COVID-19 handling of the situation, that this is government of India, this is belongs to the state government. In farmers' agitation also, you'd be hearing on a regular basis whether the government of India went out of the way and enacted on something which is outside its purview. So the governance structure, if you're able to understand, it will be a backdrop for you on anything which you speak. I'll try and give you the whole landscape, the ecosystem in which you are supposed to operate, the way you are supposed to express, the way you are supposed to think, and those are the critical areas as you move into the interview. Communication skills necessarily will be a very important critical factor. So this is the governance structure. Then I think nearly every interviewer, they will ask something about you, about the civil services. As in the case of a management interview, or you get into defense forces, every interview they'll ask you why you want to join. The state of civil services, what is the Indian civil services, and what you will be able to do, and where you position yourself, and knowing whatever ills are there in the civil services, how do you feel that you will be able to make a monumental difference? And most of the times we see very standardized answers to those very, very standardized questions. Whatever it may be, the answer has to be extremely clear, fluent, and you should not falter in your thoughts. The other simple thing which we have been told, I think, all throughout the ages, and I have been able to take it forward in my life, is that if you don't know something, you should be candid enough to say you don't know, or to whatever level you know. Because once you are pushed in the corner, it becomes very difficult for you to extricate yourself out in an interview process. So this is broadly the whole gamut of things. How much you understand public administration, how much you understand Indian governance, how much you understand constitution, and how much you understand the whole landscape which is slowly evolving today, which is basically a techno management game. So we live in a techno management age. And in the Indian civil services, we don't call it either techno management or techno management. What do we call? We call it administration. And today also, we find it distinct from management. So management is something else and administration is something else. And you will have great amount of difficulty even for the people who are coming from the management background to connect and give a very reasonable, logical, rational answer to whatever is being asked you. To best of my understanding and whatever I practice in life, I have realized that management and administration are nearly one and the same thing. Might be the outer cover, the outer shell may be slightly different. And what you also need to understand, for the people who are coming out of some job experience, organizations are the same all across. So if you understand one organization, you are able to understand another organization. And if you are able to understand the nuances of an organization, I think you will be able to replicate it while understanding about the government. So you might have done management and you find public administration to be difficult, or you are not able to make the connect. Suffice to say, there's a very clear-cut connect. So whatever you are comfortable with, through that prism, if you look at the things which you want to learn, it becomes easy for you. It becomes, you can assimilate it much faster. So these are broadly the thought processes by which we basically tackle our interviews. Most of the mock interviews are primarily with the intention to provide you some rehearsal sort of a thing. Rehearsal might be right from some point of view. I'll give you an analogy from the police when we do some drill or parade and all that. So every single movement you are supposed to learn and practice independently, bring the whole thing together, and then you finally get that drill movement or that particular parade which you see with the level of precision at which it happens. So you, from your understanding, your knowledge, and whatever you have gone through, whatever subjects you have mastered, because now there is only one optional paper. So that particular subject and the other areas where you feel comfortable and where you feel that there is a necessity to understand because you're not sure of the fact as to what will be asked you. So those are the areas that canvas has to be properly covered. In communication, and in professional public speaking or speech or whatever you call it, it is not just communication that matters. What primarily matters, I will get into the communication part as we move further. What primarily matters is your content. Now, if you get into the content story, it's a long, long story. So you manage content in one style in your schools. You manage content in a different style in your colleges. You manage content in a different style in a preliminary examination, and you manage content in a totally different style when you took the mains examination. Now again, there is another challenge, which is the for the people who clear this exam, this is the last challenge. Now here you have to manage the content in a totally different style. Now literally what you have practiced all your life is pen and paper or your keyboard or whatever you call it, now completely transforms into what comes out of your mouth. And it's not only what comes out of the mouth, your gestures, your clarity, your capability to explain. So try to imagine your answer sheet coming out of your mouth. The questions would be something corresponding to what you have done in your general studies on those 5 papers and 2 optional papers. And those questions, if you try and put it on a verbal level, on a audio visual level, and then you are trying to speak it out and what impact it will make on the individuals who are on the other side of the fence. What are they looking for? They've already tested you in the mains exam. What are they looking for? Can anybody answer? We'll make it interactive so things will move pretty easy. Can anybody answer as to what are they looking for?
So they are looking for the personality of ours rather than the memory-based
Correct.
intelligence.
Yeah. So personality is something which is very vague, very intangible, and it's very difficult to describe how they get into the personality part of it. So what they're looking for, they will never be able to make out as to what your psychological frame of mind is. If they were able to make out the psychological frame of mind, might be the lot of the civil servants who are there in the service would have been radically different. So primarily what they're looking for is your clarity of thought and your capability to express in a very, very convincing manner. How can that happen? Can anybody tell me? There is a clarity of thought and it's convincing and it is well substantiated. Can anybody tell me? You're already through with nearly 6/8 of the exam, but for 275 marks, you're through with the whole exam. Am I right? You'll have to, because say, you are going for an interview. You're going for a personality test. You're going for a viva voce. You're going for a discussion. Now, at this stage also, if you don't speak out, then it will be a very big challenge. I know tons and tons of people who have topped IITs, who have done very well in their mains exam. And as they land in the interview, they come up with double digits also. So precisely from that point, yeah. And I would expect everybody to speak.
Yes, sir. I think whatever we say, we have to substantiate with logic. So I think backing up with logic is what matters when it comes to clarity of thought and also convince the board, sir.
Okay. So primarily, if you are handling a topic, say you are handling COVID-19, so you will have a thought process. Besides that thought process, how will logical reasoning come out of it? Logical reasoning in present day world, it is not prophetic and it's not philosophical. as in the olden Greek days. It comes out of facts, it comes out of information, it comes out of the capability to stitch together facts, information, and from that, whatever intelligence comes out of it, tying it together into a narrative, into an answer, and be ready for any single thing which you have spoken out. Once you are spoken out, you are there for scrutiny. You are being scrutinized from the time you enter the interview room till the time you leave the interview room, inclusive of when you turn and you get back. Literally everything is under the scanner. How far it is true, how far it is not true, I have no idea. But the whole story which has been going on even before the time I joined the civil services, what that without taking names, that somebody got in for the interview and there's some water which was splashed there, he slept. And one of the members of the interview board asked him, "What is that?" And he said, "That is a pronoun." And they said that was such a clinching answer. So whatever has been his career story henceforth is a different story altogether. So suffice to say that there is a though we don't practice from that point of view, and possibly at this particular stage you cannot practice also from that point of view. But necessarily, if you have some sense of humor, you have wit, and you have the capability of pun and sarcasm, it certainly speaks very high of you for your understanding of both the content and the language, the capability to deliver, and capability to get away with whatever is your narrative pretty well substantiated. The daily post which I write, if you get into this daily post, it is just around 350 to 550 words on any of the topics which I deal, and every day I deal with a different topic. And within those 350, 400 words, you are able to come with the introduction, you are able to come up with what the status is, you are able to dissect the issue, and you are able to conclude the issue in the same span of time. And I presume that any question which is addressed to you, see, you have to break it down to a very, very scientific, very, very objective level. So if a question is asked to you and you are replying in, say, 1.5 minutes, how many words does it come to? 1.5 minutes of the pace at which I'm speaking might come to nearly 200 words, or might be slightly more on the pace at which you will try to speak out there. Might be it will be 10, and 10, 20, 30 words less. So if you have your script in place, script does not mean rote. Script does not mean by hearting. Script means whatever you have in mind, whatever you have been able to establish yourself by your reading, so that you make it into a script and you be extremely familiar. It's not that you by heart it. I think morning only I was checking up some interview while preparing for this particular interaction with you people, and the interview board is saying that you are talking bookish. Interview is not a tool to check how much you know or how much you have assimilated. Interview is a tool which takes you to a totally different level. If you have ever have got into what is a learning life cycle, so primarily when you are writing, so you are at a level which we call at the maximum information or at the maximum learning. So a learning life cycle starts with data, moves on to information, which is your processing of data, and where the data has a meaning, where you can make out a meaning. So that is information. Most of us are stuck up at the information level, and the vast majority of this country are stuck up with data, right or wrong. Let's see WhatsApp University or any of such universities. And from there, when you move further, so that is learning. Learning is at a stage, I presume, at your mains level, you would have been at the level of learning, or you should be at the level of learning. And if you are at the level of information and you have been able to manage the civil services, it has been your good luck. But as you move further, to make the best out of the opportunity which God has provided to you by your hard work and your courage and your capability, literally everything combined, assimilated into one, this is the time where you graduate from your information to learning and from learning to knowledge. Wisdom part we will not get into, that we will leave it for now. But if you are operating at the interregnum of learning and knowledge, Between difference between learning and knowledge finally comes that whatever you are talking about is something which generally cannot be contradicted upon, cannot be negated, has a thread of either data or information substantiated, or you have practiced in life or somebody else has practiced in life, or about which you have read. So this is broadly what happens. Now, with the trend which I am seeing these days is that there is some amount of ready-made material which is provided to you. So this ready-made material is provided to you, and that ready-made material, like these apps of InShots and all that, so that you digest and that you are trying to take it further, and on that you build up the whole story. I've been a very avid and a very strict believer that you should read only primary material. If it has to be from a book, it has to be from a book. It has to be from an article, it has to be from an article. If it has to be from a research paper, it has to be a research paper. Then you will be able to get things which are substantiated, things which are validated, things which are verified, and things which will stand the test of time. Things which will stand the test of time. Because the people who are interviewing you, most of them would be of my age or more, who have seen life from different perspectives, which you have not got a chance to experience as of now. And all of us have gone through the same life cycle, so it's nothing that you have not gone through or I went through. Everybody is at a similar state at your age of 22, 23, 24, 25, and might be a couple of you who would be slightly older. So if you get into primary reading, if you get into base document, now there's something which you're talking about, say Niti Aayog's AI indulgence. So they have some AI policy. You get into that. Somebody talks about the development model through 5-year plans. If you're able to lay your hands on what Mahalanobis model is, or you are talking about say metro in Delhi, or you're talking about say the white revolution, there are documents, there are books which have been written on these guys. It is not a necessity that you have to start the book and end with the book. You should be very clear about the fact as to what you are looking for. If you are clear about the fact as to what you are looking for, then it becomes very, very easy. If you yourself are not clear about the fact as to what you are looking for, then life becomes extremely difficult. If you are not clear about your narrative, if you are not clear about language, if you are not clear about your thought process, if you don't know what will you answer, or basically how do you react to things? Reacting to a question by far is the most important and the most critical part of the interview. So if a question is addressed to you and you feel unnerving, there might be a question you feel unnerving, but your facial expression should never be that it is unnerving. If you get into that nervous mode, which lots of people get into, you will not be able to connect whatever fact, data, content which is available in your gray matter. The capability to connect whatever is there in your gray matter, to process it and articulate it. So these are the capabilities which they are looking for. Beyond that, whatever might be their parameter is a different story. The other part of the story is that there are experts from different areas. So if I go there, if I am on an interview board, so I go as a governance expert or go as a technologist. So primarily that fellow will keep asking the same thing. And more often than not, or the same subject, if not the same thing, and more often than not, they have a cursory understanding of all the other topics. But when they finally assess you, so certainly they talk to each other and they form their opinion based on whatever you have answered to the other interview board member. It's not necessarily that whatever if you have answered a very brilliant way to my question and other 5 questions you have not been able to answer or you have faltered. I don't think the person for whom you have answered in a brilliant manner by whatever exception is going to give you the level of marks which you should have got had you answered that only question. So suffice to understand that across board your performance has to be equal or nearly equal. or might be if you falter at one place, you have been able to make up in the rest of the interview. Your capability to talk and capability to prolong your conversation is equally important in a very, very interesting manner, because it has been amply proved over the last 30, 40, 50 years, or from the time of the inception of Union Public Service Commission and the Indian Civil Services, that longer the interview, you have better performed. Longer the interview, you have better performed. Shorter the interview, you have not performed that well. There can be exceptions to the rule, nobody is denying that, but this has become a thumb rule. If you are able to interact with that particular interview board for 30, 35, 40 minutes, broadly, you can take it very confidently that you will be in top 20, 30% of the people who have been interviewed upon. What you have done in your mains exam, so that is a different story altogether, because the two will be added and finally you will get the position which you deserve. But certainly you will make a difference of quite a large chunk of marks. So out of 275, if I am able to make a difference of anything between 5 to 10% of the interview marks based on whatever I tell you as a methodology, based on whatever I ask you to practice, and based on whatever you finally visualize is important and would be of use in an interview based on the interaction which we are having right now. So that particular 5 to 10% can make a difference of, I think, hundreds of positions. So this is where we stand. There are lots of people who come up with this frame of mind. Okay, I've gone through the mains exam. I have done well. You have no idea whether you have done well, you have done badly. You have just cleared the bar. As long as you don't get the marks, you only know that you have just cleared the bar. So it is mandated upon you. It is your duty that you try and do your best at whatever time you have been assigned with. There are a couple of very, very typical questions which can come to you. So somebody says, who is your role model? And I used to teach my son when he was taking the NTSC exam. And then we were going for an interview. From here, we were going to Mysore for an interview in that Science and Technology Institute. So at that point in time, I told him, if you're asked a question, that what are good points about, say, some great person, and if they say who is your role model, and you say your father is your role model, the characteristics which you talk in a human being nearly remains the same. It is honesty, integrity, discipline, hard work, knowledge, morality, so things of that nature. So there are a couple of parts which you connect it to couple of incidents, you connect to his life, and you will get that format. You pick up anybody, so you will get that broad format. So you also should have the capability to break whatever you expect would be asked into different categories. Now, if somebody can tell me, depending on your background, as to how you view the interview, and then I will move further. Any one person, how do you view an interview, and what do you think is the way you are either preparing, or you feel that is the right way of preparation because you have met large number of people by now. You would have been in this state for 2.5 years, even for the people who are the first timers. So can somebody tell me as to how you view an interview as an outsider? Don't treat yourself as a candidate. Just as an outsider, how do you view a civil services interview? Can anybody tell me? Because interview is a completely non-lecture mode. And preferably, you will have to speak more than the people who are interviewing you. So if we want to start that approach now, I think we have to start talking. Yes?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, I believe the interview is a conversation between two generations who have seen life in full circle, and it's also a platform to assess whether we can be the officers that they expect us to be.
Yeah. So see, that is the goal of an interview. Correct. What do you feel, or how are you preparing for the interview? First, you tell me when is your interview and how And I think the results were declared long time back. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
When were the results declared?
So March 23rd, the main results.
So March 23rd to somewhere we are in the last part of July. So I think you would have got a long time, because we generally used to get, and my roll numbers used to be, my first time I think it was 378, next time it was some 971. So first time I had on the, I think the second day, the next time I had on the fourth or the fifth day. So basically the time span which I had in two of my attempts, third one I didn't take. So was just around 25 days or so. Now you're getting 4 or 5 months. How have you prepared for the interview? If you can tell me as to what your background is. So because a couple of these illustrative cases will help me to align, because I've taken this interview donkey's numbers of years back.
Sir, I come from mechanical engineering background, graduate in mechanical engineering, and I've taken literature as my optional. And I'm
So how have you prepared?
The current affairs remains the same, but then I'm preparing a bit about the basic mechanical concepts, like theories, whatever the connecting improvements that are happening in the current time, maybe electric vehicles or improvements through BS6 fuel efficiency and such things. And then about Kannada optional, like I'm lagging behind, but I'm trying to prepare for that. Trying to understand the history, like which I've already understood through mains preparation. But then there are aspects which they ask in interview, like broader understanding. They get into some personal works of authors, their contribution to the society. So those things are some of the things that I have to prepare.
If I were to ask you that you describe the current state of technological development with regards to autonomous vehicles in a minute's time, how do you explain? See, end of the day, we have to evaluate you and couple of other people and show it to other people who are a part of this particular training group. So they get some role models, so that time they will remember, okay, you spoke like this, and in the preparation, they will get some reference points. Otherwise, if I keep on giving lecture, then finally, if they try to remember, it becomes difficult, even if the recording is available. So how do you explain the current status of autonomous car development?
So autonomous cars are those cars which can drive by themselves, making use of various technologies, which is in stage of development, and some are in stage of testing, which is not yet come into use. The technologies that are there involves geographic information system, sensors, and then the communication between other vehicles as well. So it is still in the testing stage, and some have reached what do I call it?
Whether you make points while you read, whether you read the right material, then we are in a multimedia world. Whether you try to get into any of the YouTube videos, see, I'm a creation of the internet age, of whatever age I might be. I got into computer science, so to say, at the age of 44, 45 years of age. So that is where I come from. That is my lineage. Otherwise, I'm a history postgraduate from St. Stephen's College. And you being from mechanical engineering, the way you're describing autonomous cars will certainly not enthuse confidence, either in the person who knows mechanical engineering, or he is in technology, or he's a practitioner of any branch of science. So this is what I've been talking about. So it is the clarity of your thought, and the clarity of your thought will come from the content, and that content assimilated. See, how much you eat is immaterial. How much you digest is material. So how much you digest is important for your system and to your overall health. How much you eat does not make any difference whatsoever. You will just be straining yourself. Now, autonomous cars today, I think, is at the cutting edge. It is the frontier of technology. And the technologies which you're talking about, and the cars which you're talking about, and the method you're talking about, it gives a very, very generic idea. Extremely generic idea. If all of you are able to make the list of topics which you are most likely to be engaged in while you are in an it might be that you miss out a couple of topics, but necessarily so the topics which you put, nearly 80, 90, 95% of the topics will come there in some form or the other. So the place you belong to, the state which you are in, and overall polity of this country. So there is a standardized thing which keeps coming over and over again. So because there has to be a reference to what they are talking. And it is clear cut, it is one is your background inclusive of the geographical area which you come from. The second is the overall context of the state and overall context of the country. Third is your educational background, your interest, taste, hobbies. Fourth is the whole gamut of general studies because civil service examination. I realized very recently that from our olden days, today it has become only general studies and nothing else. But for your two optional papers, there's absolutely nothing else. Correct. So there can also be situations when somebody talks about scenario, somebody talks about lots of other things. So if you are able to break down into different topics, and if you master those topics, it will be of great help. Now today I talked to you, I'm talking to you regarding the autonomous car. If I say Waymo belongs to which particular company, and we will not get into any further details, but suffice to say that these topics have to be dealt in a totally different manner from an interview point of view, and at your age and where you are positioned. So this is the major problem which we face. If it is a very generic thing, you give a generic answer. If it is a technological advancement, you are not able to give the nitty-gritty of it. So if you give the name of one car, if you say it has not reached this level, why it has not reached that level? Correct. You should be in a position to answer. Now somebody talks to you, say about if you're coming from technology background, and large number of the civil services candidates come from the technology background, and if somebody asks you, you define artificial intelligence, how do you define? Can anybody define? Can anybody tell me what his or her reading has been in last 3-4 months, which they fortunately they got for their preparation? Can anybody define? Can anybody explain? We have lots of people. We have around 24 participants, might be 2-3 of these organizers. If they, even if 20-22 persons there, can anybody define artificial intelligence? See, what I'm asking you, at least half of the people and more than half, they should be able to give me an answer. Because you are not very far off from your interview date. And if today you are not able to answer, so there at least it will make a difference of couple of marks, if not more, because they're going there only to answer. So the more prepared you are, the better it is. Let me tell you very frankly, whatever I did in my services interview is a different story altogether. But suffice to say that I've never been a debater in my life. I've not been into extempore and things of that nature. It was only in the year 2010. I decided to try my luck because somebody was forcing me in that, sir, you're doing so much of technology, you come for a big conference. I've been dealing meetings and conferences inside the police department. When this fellow gave me offer to come for a national conference somewhere in August 2010, I told him, look, man, it is not my cup of tea and I'll not get into this conference. So he pestered me. And finally I agreed and I went there with 2 of my projects which I did. So the first project related to that, I was a panelist. And when afternoon I'm coming again for the second session. So this fellow, he was very worried and he comes running to me, sir, actually the moderator has not come. Can you moderate the session? I had split second to think of. And I have never moderated a session, certainly not at that level and scale. So split second, I decided, I said, okay, I'll moderate the session. And I moderated the session. That was somewhere in August 2010. And from August 2010 till today, I would have moderated, I would have given keynote speech, I would have inaugurated, I would have given inaugural speech, concluding session. I think all combined, I would not have done less than 800 in last around 10, 11 years. So this is the capability of communication, and most of the people who are coming with me together, Even on my business journey, are the people who have been impressed because of my public speaking or my writing. So you create a completely different ecosystem. You people, all of you have gone through whatever was required by the Union Public Service Commission and the Indian Civil Services as far as the content part is concerned, as far as your knowledge part, your degree, your certification, your capabilities, literally, I think you have gone through the whole exercise, which you are also aware, I am also aware, the world is also aware. As you move further, it is your capability to speak, your capability to influence that will matter. It will have a component of language, it will have a component of content, it will have a component of your gestures, it will have a component of with the speed, intensity and substantiation which you can deliver in 20, 25, 30 minutes of time, which can completely transform your life. This is the reality which is hitting you. This is the reality which is hitting you. If somebody says whether there will be a third wave or not, please explain. With facts and figures, thought processes be empirical and objective. Can anybody tell me, will there be a third wave or not? You can't say, I'm not an epidemiologist. Can you say that? If somebody asks you a question, can you say that, okay, I'm not an expert in that area, how do I know? I think somebody will have to answer. And I think this is a very likely question. It's a very likely question. They will ask you.
Sir, can I come in, sir?
Yeah, anybody can come in. It's an open thing. If anybody needs any specialized coaching later, I'll tell you. But this is a generic thing. Let's all of us understand.
Yes, sir. With respect to third wave, I think there will be definitely a third wave because we have seen in the Western countries there are already third wave, fourth wave, already fifth wave coming up. And also with respect to in our own country, we see Kerala has been recording cases day by day. It is increasing. And also in yesterday's newspaper, Bangalore has reported progressively more and more cases. So I think there will be definitely a chance of third wave any moment in September or November, October, sir.
So,
Sir,
no, I'm
shall I
asking,
answer?
how do you substantiate? You have been talking in a generic, I'll just finish, talking in a generic manner.
Sir, shall I come? Sir, shall I
One
come
by
in,
one,
sir?
one by one. Somebody should moderate.
Sir, shall I come in?
Yeah, please come in.
Sir, good morning, sir. Myself is Dr. Chikkappa Nayak. I'm
Yeah.
working as a medical officer in PSA.
Oh,
So
very
as
good.
per my knowledge, sir, I'm not like in position to say the third wave won't come, sir. Like we already covered a 45% of vaccination, sir, first dose. And second dose, we covered a 23%, sir, in India. This is the first point. And second point, sir, already recently 20% and 30% are newly infected. We are not vaccinated for that.
Correct.
They have to wait for 3 months, sir. So as per my analysis, this is my analysis only, sir. And I feel 60% already infected. One way, either maybe passive immunity through the vaccination.
Correct.
Or active immunity through the infection. So 60 to 70% if the infected there, if the virus is already active, I mean antibodies active in the body. So I can say herd immunity will be in the process to reaching. So if the process to reaching 60 to 70% of the population herd immunity, then third wave will be not there. If it is there, the severity will be very less compared to second wave. So this is my approach, sir.
Correct. So leaving aside the detailing of it, for everybody, what is important is that this doctor gives a narrative which is his. And he gives facts and figures to substantiate. So I'd request all of you not to talk generic, not to talk on some sources which you cannot explain, and not to talk things which cannot be supported by facts and figures. In any narrative and in any answer, in any response, there is nothing right and wrong. Whatever with what thought process you are able to substantiate, that is important. So critically, he is saying on these points, third wave happens or any wave happens, and on these points, it does not happen. Am I right, doctor? Okay. So we'll go. I think Bhumika was trying to say something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Bhumika, you can ask. Sir, you wanted to say something?
Sir, I wanted to say the same point as per the vaccination, and I wanted to add some more points. One more
Please.
point, that is virus mutation. as per the research, the virus is going to mutate continuously, but mutation happens in two ways. Sometimes it may be stronger. Sometimes it may be a less stronger than now.
Yeah.
So it depends upon virus mutation. We have to handle it with a vaccination, booster vaccination, as per the research. So on that point, I can say that third wave may come, but we have to handle it with the booster vaccinations, continuous booster vaccinations.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else having any thoughts on third wave? See, interview training guidance has to be like an interview in bits and pieces, if not completely. Anybody else on third wave? Speak out. This is your chance to speak out for life. This will give you the confidence to move forward, because once you go there, it's a totally different story.
Sir, shall I tell one more thing, sir?
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. And one more thing, I don't know in other state and other areas, sir. In our Bagalkot district, what we are doing as per DH order, we are there. Even though wave is not there, we are collecting every PSC 50 to 100 jobs daily. So if it's collecting daily means we are collecting, giving reports to DH officer. So among them, only 2 to 3% positivity rate is there, sir. And less than like how out of 100, only 2 or 3 positive rate we are getting. And we are planning to do still October the same thing. And if it is another set also implementing the same as for Karnataka, so I feel they are taking a very prevention measures. And they are establishing the ICU bed and ICU training. They are doing, sir, actually in the like in their mind they will be expecting the third wave. So for that they are taking a prevention. If the prevention is very better and very good manner, we definitely control the third wave and it won't be happen, sir.
Okay. So somebody can tell me how third wave can be avoided. Third wave is not impending. It can be avoided. What are your thoughts on it, or substantiate? Can anybody tell me? Third wave is not impending. It can be avoided. How?
Hello, can I speak, sir?
Yeah, and within the given resources. It is not with 1 crore vaccination every day. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think third wave can be avoided by public awareness on like people should take care on wearing masks and be strictly avoid the crowds and health infrastructure upgradation is also an important thing. Then vaccination drive, and we should exchange information with other countries like how they are controlling the pandemic, and that's all, sir. I say that.
Anybody
Shall I?
Yeah, please.
Sir, according to the Ministry of Health data, 114 districts account for 92% of the first and second wave infections. Among those, metro cities and popular capital cities are the major one. I think, in my sense, we should conduct serosurveillance in all the cities and assess the antibody level in the population, and then we can sort the vaccinations. We can arrange the vaccinations according to the infection, according to the antibody level. If some city has lesser antibody level, we can give that a preference for antibodies. And second thing is, we should keep a check in all these districts or in all these cities for the rise in cases. As soon as the cases rise a particular limit, we should restrict the in and out movement of the cities, and we should I think it is like we should graded response action plan. As far the infection level rises, we should change our response level for these cities, sir. And along with that, we should allow more and more vaccinations, like presently Moderna has been allowed for vaccination in India. Like we should license more and more vaccinations for vaccinating Indian populations.
Anybody else? Anybody with a background of biology? Somebody is to get a question on genome sequencing. If I were to ask what is genome sequencing, and we have failed to predict the movement of the pandemic because of the incapability to do genome sequencing. Am I right?
Sir, shall I
Yeah,
add, sir?
continue. Yeah.
Sir, actually, so sorry to interrupt. Like we are not failing to genome sequencing, sir.
Yeah,
We are
please tell.
doing the
Yeah.
genome sequencing actually.
Yeah.
So according to Lancet report,
Yeah.
what they are saying, sir, actually, according to epidemiology, there is a principle is there, sir. If the virus is passing one body to another body in a multiple way, in multiple rate of velocity, so it will get mutating, sir. That is a phenomenon. So even dengue virus also, even chikungunya virus also, if it is spreading like a same COVID-19, it will also get mutated, sir. So we are sequencing exactly, sir. But the thing is, the nature of this COVID-19, it is spreading in a very rapid manner. So because of this, it is changing one body to another body. If it is virus is entering into one particular body, that body is responding to in the Newton third law. According to, if the virus is reacting to body is also giving a certain reaction to virus, sir. And that virus will pass to another body. Like this, if it is passing to one body to another body in a large number of people, it will get automatically mutation, sir. So this
See, there are
thing
two
happens to
ways.
this one.
See, two ways you approach a question. Okay. So when you approach a question, so one is generic and one is the facts and figures which are to be substantiated. So from now, whenever you study and whatever you study, you look in for a couple of facts and figures which can be substantiated. If you get into genome sequencing, the number of genome sequencing happening in this country compared to UK or large number of other countries is pretty small. And that generally does not allow us the capability to predict in the manner it should happen. And that was one of the reasons, as the study goes in the public domain, that we were not able to predict the second wave in the manner it should have been, even when there was sufficient amount of information available. But powers that be were not convinced of the fact, because that empirical data based on genome sequencing was not available. So you have it very, very clear, and all of us will accept the fact that when we are provided with facts and figures, so many times even those facts and figures are false. So please don't get into any fact and figure which is not substantiated. But the facts and figures which are verified, which are validated, which are from a government source or which are from a very, very from authentic source, those facts and figures, if it is laced very seamlessly with your narrative, your answer, your feedback, your response in an interview situation becomes very, very authentic and becomes extremely difficult for the next man who's across the table to cross question you. Because once you speak something, as all of you know, that in the interview board, somebody else will ask another question, somebody will ask another question. So it means two things. One is that you have come up with an answer which is thought provoking and they would like to know more from you, or you have come up with an answer which is not up to the mark and they want to poke hole in your thought process, in your knowledge. And after trying and testing 2, 3 of these questions, they will realize whether to pursue or not to pursue. And that is how the large number of interviews which end at 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and things of that nature. And most of those interviews would land up in a double digit sort of a scenario. And any double digit sort of a scenario, it becomes extremely difficult to make a place in the list. So this is a broad thought process by which you can broadly get into a preparation mode with these items. If you feel that your language skills are not up to the mark, language skills cannot be compensated in a month's time or half a month's time, and trying to improve upon the language becomes extremely difficult. Necessarily so if your content is strong, if your subject matter depth is strong, if you have an intensity to think original, if you have an intensity to give a responsive answer, if you have a if you have a behavioral pattern or a thought process which generally does not falter, you don't stammer, you talk straight, you talk right in the face, your this language incapability might be surmounted to a considerable degree. So your facts and figures and your capability to put the two together in a cohesive manner, at that point in time, your capability of the language required will not be of that particular level, even at a slightly lower level, you will be able to manage. For sure, articulation is the bedrock. It is the cornerstone. It is the nervous system of any interview. So articulation, whether by way of a very fluent language or a okay simple language or more of facts and figures where you don't need much of a language, you are able to communicate what should be your actual real style. You have to follow that style. I have my own style, you would be having your own style. And if you try to play around with the style on somebody coaching you and telling you do this, you do this, you do that, there might be a couple of things which might happen depending on if you take you as a human being and I take your brain and your capability today as an infrastructure. On that infrastructure, I can build some small superstructure. I cannot create a superstructure which is not in sync with the infrastructure. I cannot create a superstructure which is heavier than the infrastructure itself. So you have to realize as to how much you can push forward, how much you cannot push forward, but under whatever circumstances you might be in, you need your facts and figures, you need a clarity in narrative, and you also need a very a cool, composed approach where you don't look nervous, you don't falter, you don't stammer, you don't look lost, you don't look literally scrambling for an answer. If in 10 questions, one place it happens, okay, they will also take it as a matter of side, even two will do. But if for most of your questions you start with that, yeah, your interview is not going to last for more than 15 minutes. If you have anything to else to ask, we can go ahead. Otherwise, again, I'll carry with this and I'll try and explain what you can do in the next month or two, whatever is left with you. With a couple of people, might be it's even 10-15 days. So you can ask a couple of questions that will clarify the issues which is basically nagging you, and how do you get over it. So please go ahead. Nobody has any questions? Because interview training cannot be a classroom lecture, fortunately or unfortunately. You please ask whatever questions are nagging you. It might be related to subject, it might be related to your personality, it might be related to your communication skills, it might be related to things which are complicated and complex. It can be anything.
Yeah, Dhanush, if you want to ask something.
No, because if they don't
Yes,
ask.
sir.
Yeah, Dhanush, go ahead.
Sir, sometimes what happens, sir, if I am answering in a territory which I am not sure of, I tend to miss out the words. So I will be finding with the want of words. I'll be in a territory where I won't be getting the exact words to express myself. So how do we counter that kind of a situation, sir? How
See,
do we get out of it?
now the areas where you feel that it is not your territory, and also there is a likelihood of those questions being asked to you in the interview. I will advise you to get into YouTube videos, news programs, anything. So where you get comfortable with the area and the language which is used in that particular area. So
Yes, sir.
basically these areas I will not falter, and it is these areas I may falter. Beyond this, there might be one or two areas which crop up right there itself, and you will have to find ways and means, improvise and move further. But the only way to get the communication skill, the word, the jargon, the terminology of that particular area of study, I have realized with myself, and I do lots of such type of reading and such type of audio and video comprehension. And YouTube has been of great help. So if you get into an area, now say genome sequencing is there and you come from a different area and you want to know something about genome sequencing and you feel that you land into a problem, you're not comfortable with the jargons, with the terms, with the words, with the terminology which is used in that particular area. So that will be of help. So that's number one. Number two, you can get into the literature of that particular topic. Otherwise, you have Wikipedia. So where main structure you will get what it is. And in that structure, wherever you feel that it is important for you and that question might be asked, so you get into that particular question and then you can just become familiar with those particular terminologies. There are also a couple of videos which you will find where it will be related to the main person who is handling that. Say today something related to COVID. So if you have Dr. Guleria or Dr. Devi Shetty or you have Dr. Trehan, so people or there are lots of people from the governmental sector, epidemiologists and all that. So then you will get familiar to that particular area. Now we were talking about autonomous cars. Autonomous cars, you go and you go through one good video on Tesla, on Waymo, on lots of other which are available there. I think one will explain it to you as to where you stand. So what is the nature of sensors? What is the nature of autonomous training? What is the how does it compete with a human driver? And why the safety in an autonomous car, if it is done in the manner it should be, can bring down the safety levels by nearly 90%. Whatever a human driver can see and whatever autonomous car can see, I think it is 10 times, 20 times more, plus the intelligent systems based on sensors and based on your GPS technology would be able to anticipate as to what can happen. What are the drawbacks? There's another story. So broadly, this is the way you will prepare in areas where you seem to falter, where you feel that your communication skills are not in tune or not synchronous with whatever you are supposed to speak. Because there will nobody who will take it that you speak in a language which is not the language of that particular field of study or that particular area or the depth and the maturity of the language which you are supposed to speak.
Anyone else? You can unmute yourself and you can ask a question.
Sir, may I ask a question?
Please.
Yes, Samiksha.
Yeah, please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, my question is that in the limited time that we get to think on the question that is asked, how do we ensure that we are prioritizing the most important points first? Because there is literally a flow of
What is your background? I'll tell you on. What is your background?
I'm a chartered accountant.
Okay. Correct. So you come from a background where the basic facts are established already, or you establish as you get into a particular business transaction. Correct. Now you are asked a question whether you have prepared that particular area in a similar manner or not. If you prepare in a similar manner, what I do and what I did 30 years back, I'll tell you. So my first thing, if I get into any particular domain or any particular topic or any particular area, is to make my own notes. And you cross-check with lots of other things, and finally you decide these are the main points. But you should also have the capability to get it validated. And today there are large number of resources on the internet where you can cross-check whether your facts are right or wrong. So that being the case, for every single thing which you anticipate, you will have a broad framework and you will also be able to prioritize that these are the important points. It may not be necessarily be in a sequence of 1 to 10. But out of say 5 main points or 10 main points, if you are able to express 3, 4 of them without missing the most critical element, I think that is fair enough. That they would be happy with that. It's not, and there are no fixed answers. It is not an audit report. There are no fixed answers. So broadly, if you are able to define the problem or define the response to the problem and a couple of other points which substantiate that issue, I think that is more than enough. And if you want to get into any specific topic, we can get into that.
Right, so what happens in case of questions where we're not really prepared? It's a bouncer question.
No, see, one is that you have to answer. There's no way out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It is not a choice that you answer one of the following questions. So the question is there for good, and you are being marked on that question. So that's reality. You be mentally prepared for that. If you are mentally prepared for the reality, then you will be able to face an adverse situation much better than somebody who is not ready for that reality. So when you are given a bouncer question, instantaneously you will have to think whether I know something connected to that or not. Correct. If you know something connected to that, so you can use that via media, and certainly they will not ask you something which is completely unknown to you.
Yes, sir.
They are not going to ask you about genome sequencing in John Hopkins. They're not going to ask you. They're not going to ask you the number of kilometers covered by a Waymo car in the testing phase in Florida area of 190 square kilometers. They're not going to ask you that. Okay. They will ask you something where you have a relation. Interviews are not meant for creating questions which the candidate does not know. Interviews are meant to elicit as much of information from the candidate so as to understand that person's capability to understand that particular language and particular content and to express in a comprehensive manner. Now things have changed. There was a time where 40% of the marks in the interview, at least in the Indian Foreign Service, went for the viva voce, went for the interview. Now government feels that 275 is more than enough, but once you get into the public service, you will realize how language can become a handicap and how language is by far the most important tool in public administration of this country, given the levels of lack of education in this country. So you will not be, and you will find best of the people with worst of the language and completely incomprehensive. And as you move further, if you get into it, you'll realize how much of language they will teach you just to survive in this complex world of the Indian civil services. So this is my broad take. First is don't get unnerved. They are not going to throw a hockey ball to a cricket bat. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So they are not going to do that. They are not their job. They are not mandated to take the worst out of you or extract the worst out of you. They have been legally mandated to extract the best out of you. But certainly they will put into critical situations. They will put you into stress. They will take you to arguments. They will force you to substantiation. They will take you to the corner. Now, these capabilities, if you want to pick up, then that we will have to spend quite a bit of time. And we have to put you in those situations for me to understand as to how you'll interact and how do I get over that personality deficiencies of yours need not necessarily the knowledge and the knowledge and the content deficiency.
Got it, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? So these are the things which will help you. And I have given, we'll go into a couple of more questions. I have time till 10:45. But for all the people who are attending this, I think any of you, if you want to get connected, you can get connected to me. I put my phone number, I put the mobile number, and might be from next year, I get into a professional only interview coaching a commercial enterprise. I've been in this communication trade. I understand technology, management, governance, public administration, lots and lots of areas. And today, primarily everything has come general studies, and the main denominator of today's existence technology, I understand in and out. And currently, I've created a technology consultancy aggregator, which is anyway first in India, might be first globally. So now somebody asks you, what is Amazon? Explain Amazon in a technical manner. How many of you can explain? And this is a very general question. It's a very general question. Can anybody tell me what is Amazon in a technical manner or nature of business manner? Why Facebook is not a media company? Can anybody tell me? How do these companies generate nearly 1/5 of their revenue from India without paying a single penny of tax? These are not abstract questions today. From Pegasus to your intermediary guidelines, they have become mainstream of our existence. And whether it is civil services, whether it is private business, whether it is research, something which has killed this country is lack of creativity, lack of innovation, lack of scientific temper, literally lack of research. We don't have any research at any level whatsoever. And this great country, which we call is a powerhouse of software, does not produce any software. Does not produce any software, by exception if it has produced something like Pinnacle. So that is it. So if you want to make a success out of your interview, if you are able to orient yourself slightly on the technology side also, and in COVID, post-COVID, we live in the digital immersion age. And it's very difficult to get out of it. You'll never be able to get out of it. And if any of you speak in the language which I'm speaking, those guys will be so thoroughly impressed. You will certainly get couple of marks more, if not couple of percentage of marks. This is a reality of life. You're living in a completely digital immersion age. It's not just a digital age. And things like data protection, privacy, intermediary rules, and the definition which I was asking for Amazon. Correct. So it's a technology platform or a multi-sided market or a platform company. Now these are the girl who was talking about. So if you falter when these, you'll certainly falter because there is no way out. But these are very, very well-known areas, whether you come from technology or you don't come from technology. My background, I come from history, I come from police, I come from bureaucracy, I come from peacekeeping, I come from investigation, I come from law enforcement. I certainly don't come from professional public speaking, from communication, from technology. I don't come from any of these areas. But if you were to survive in the present day world, there's absolutely no other way out. There is absolutely no other way out to survive in the present day world. And I can also tell you with complete conviction that if you are able to explain a couple of things which are today real, which are dynamic, which is technology enabled or technology in itself, I think that will certainly fetch you a good amount of marks, and also will give you a confidence which is one of its kind for the interview. Because technology has become a reality of our existence. And if we are able to, or if we try to evade and not make it a component of even with people who are non-technologists, because what you have been doing in your general studies, I think there's quite a large quantum of technology which is there. I think you can start it from now. You see the recent things. Now drones, if you don't know drones, you don't know data protection and privacy, you don't know anti-drone, you don't know Amazon, you don't know intermediary guidelines. And like that, I can give you at least 30, 40 topics, which can also be interspersed when you're talking of public policy, you're talking of governance, you're talking on evidence-based policing, you're talking on data-driven governance. So there are lots of things. You're talking of e-governance, you're talking of services being delivered. So tons and tons of areas where it is happening only because of the technology enablement. And as you move further, the standard format is very simple, that your bureaucratic component of your existence cannot be more than 50%, and other 50% it has to be technology. It cannot be without technology. Either you learn technology and use it, or you grapple with substandard personnel who will be provided to you and you grapple with them for the rest of your life. This is a reality of life, because the technological component, the government has increased considerably in the last 10 to 15 years, but the nature of resources which is given to you is completely out of sync with whatever is happening. Now, Reserve Bank is trying to create its own cryptocurrency, and if you don't know what a cryptocurrency is, then it becomes extremely difficult. If you don't know how money laundering is happening in this country, even if as a bureaucrat, leave aside a police officer, I think you are up for a great, great challenge. And why we have failed in most of the recent initiatives is because we have not been able to understand technology. We have not been able to integrate with governance. We never had the data, and that is also plaguing all through our COVID-19 situation also. To know that we need 210 what do you say, crore doses, I don't think it is a big mathematical problem. And the whole thing which is being made out to be leave aside the COVID part of the story where you say that this data is there, that data is not, because we have never created the data. We don't have honesty and integrity of data in our system. If there is no honesty and integrity of data in the system, what will you deliver? You will not be able to deliver anything whatsoever. And today somebody asks you, what is artificial intelligence? What is machine learning? What is big data? So these are topics which are not alien today. These are the topics which impact your daily life, day in and day out. I thought at one point in time that if I understand the operation technology and information technology, integration of it in an industry sort of an environment, oh, I know quite a bit. Other day I was in the Jindal steel plant in Orissa, and the type of questions they ask when you are basically an entrepreneur, those are the questions which will be minimum 5,000 times tougher than what it happens in an UPSC interview, because nobody will pay you a single penny if you don't have the capability to deliver in very, very complex technical environment. And why Indian services, civil services, remains broadly out of sync with the governance of this country is primarily because if they're not ready to get in technology, and the people who come from IT background and lots of other technical background, they become bureaucrats and police officers by the fall of that. The day they enter their academies, they lose all technical knowledge. So this is where we are. So if somebody, and now you can take a cue from other angle. If somebody says what ails Indian governance, so people will start political interference, corruption, this, that. They're all standardized things. It was there when I started. It is there, and I don't think till cows come home, it will remain where it stands. I don't see any clear-cut answer or solution to that whole exercise. So broadly, if you say that it is a data-enabled, empirical, objective, expertise-based, and that controlling the whole system through technology. So I think it makes better sense, because that is one medium, one system by which we can take a different trajectory to reach the same goal. If we keep talking about EVMs or our whatever ballot boxes and all that, I don't know what sense it will make. But if I'm able to create a whole voting mechanism by which it is real time and dynamic, and I can't see, it is both real time and dynamic, but I can't see. People who are not supposed to see, they will not see, or for that matter, nobody will see. And exact 5 in the evening, it throws up the results. How much chance of manipulation is there? Please tell me. Anybody? Then, if you want to make a difference to your interview, there are lots of things which I can tell you. But one thing, please have in your mind. There's a small country called Estonia. Estonia has 1.3 million population. It is technologically the most advanced country as far as the civilian technology use is concerned, might be on the cyber security side also. They have started I-voting some 9-10 years back. They are heading research in blockchain technology. Now you say, what is blockchain technology? Blockchain technology is literally enabling governance. Dubai was to completely transform to blockchain technology by end of last year. But I think for COVID that would not have happened. But that is where we are. So this is another gamut. So if you understand Estonia, you understand the governance in Estonia, that will give you a very clear-cut lever to tell the interview board that this is the direction which we should move. There might be, if somebody knows, he will tell, but Estonia is a small country. Correct. Okay, Estonia is a small country. One is no other small country is able to achieve where it has. The second thing is, there are big countries, they have bigger resources. So if that model is applied, you will be successful. If you take a city like Shenzhen in China, where there is 13 million population, they are also able to use technology at a pace which is unimaginable. And a city like Bangalore, but for the IT enterprises, we have absolutely no technology here. So this can be a great model which you can talk of, the Estonian model of governance. If you get into real technology, you can get into architecture of that particular technology, how those things happen. Estonia delivers 3,000 government services online, and it was before COVID. It's not that after COVID it has happened. It online. Company can be registered there from 123 countries. And I think you can also become a citizen of Estonia from 123 countries. So this backdrop you need to have. You should see basically what I can enable you is to provide you a knowledge canvas, a personality canvas, a communication canvas, a response canvas. If you integrate all these things with your content, your capability, and a behavioral pattern of being as cool as you can be, it is extremely difficult to be cool in any interview whatsoever, most of the Indian civil services. But however much you can be. So that will make a phenomenal difference to how you perform. So this is it. If you have any more questions, I'm ready to take those questions.
Sir, my question is, sir, I belong to computer science background, but I rate myself very bad in that. So I have to learn a lot with respect to computer science, whatever the board is going to ask. So can you please provide me a framework how I'm going to deal with computer science related questions in the board, sir?
First, you will have to tell me as to what the questions you anticipate.
Sir, the questions I anticipate is more related to, as you asked, sir, artificial intelligence, blockchain, big data, machine learning, and the application and their application in governance. I think this is what they are going to ask. As per my basic level of understanding.
Okay. So when you go through blockchain in government services, there will be some
Yes.
document regarding Dubai.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Dubai,
Yes, sir.
next Estonia.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then try and get into a project known as Hyperledger project.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then for
Yes,
your
sir.
all big data and all that, go into Waymo project.
Yes, sir.
Okay. AI, ML and all that. I think you look for some good videos that or if you I think is a big once again, just hold on. I don't know how convenient you will find to read this book. This is a great book on artificial intelligence. This is by a
Yes, sir.
person called Max Tegmark. He's a professor
sir.
in, I think, in MIT. So
Yes,
this
sir.
is known as Life 3.0. So that you
Yes, sir.
can do. I'm forgetting the name of that writer. He's a big Spanish. Some writer is there. That is on big data. So if you
Yes, sir.
if you just try and find out best book on big data, that book is not right now available with me. So you can find out. And I'll tell you for this all of you. So some amount of this knowledge, as I've explained earlier, also would be of immense help to you. Okay. And anybody, I've given
Sir,
my phone number and I've given my email ID. You can get connected to me. You give me this reference of India for IAS. So if you mail it to me, that reference has to be there. And if you message me also, message me only on WhatsApp. Don't message me on any other medium. And you mention this, okay? And there'll be lots of people. I think you still have sufficient amount of time to prepare because what I saw, it starts on 2nd of August and goes till 2nd of September. Am I right?
it goes on till September 22nd, sir.
And then there's huge. So people will be on different date schedules and all that. So you still have sufficient amount of time. Is
Sir, my
that you?
last question, sir.
Yeah, please.
Sir, apart from these new breakthrough technologies in computer science, so how far can we expect basic questions related to computer science
They can
in a
ask
board,
you.
sir?
You can ask you ERP, this, that. They can ask you anything. And
Okay,
they
sir.
if you get in, because you are from computer science background, right? So if they get into
Sir,
some
but
semiconductors and all that, then I can't say anything. See what you have studied in 4 years, so it becomes your it is your optional subject. So reasonable amount of depth in your optional subject, or even if it is not your optional subject and it has been your part of your education, so I think they're well within the rights to ask. But
yes,
my
thank
own
you, sir.
understanding is, and my gut feeling is, that they will not ask conventional IT. So
Okay, sir.
that is my understanding. So that can be a saving grace for you. And to best of my understanding, there will hardly anybody who understands from big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and cloud. These components, there are very few people who understand in this country, and certainly not in the UPSC interview board. And even if they are, they know only generic. They will not be able to tell you OpenAI or GPT-3 or GPT-4 and all that. It is way beyond people's understanding in this country, even the best of the people. So that is where we are. So that can be a saving grace for you. Okay.
And also your blog also has a lot of posts on artificial
I will
intelligence.
tell you, I forgot to tell you, I've written the points which I'm supposed to communicate to you. So I'm telling you, I write a post every day. I've written for the last 1765 days, of which large chunk is technology and cyber security. But huge amount on technology. It is known as the Sahay's Daily Post. I will just write it down. I think I think lots of things. I think you can do 70% of your preparation out of that only.
Yes, sir.
From next year, I'll put it on subscription model. It would be 1,000 times better than whatever you people are being fed by lots of other places. So this is www.sahasdailypost.com. Okay. It has nearly, I think, I don't remember the last count, but it is nearly 6.5 lakh words, which comes to 40 to 60 words per book, means it is nearly 15 books. And very curated, validated stuff. It cannot go wrong. And you will get a narrative, you will get a thought process. And somebody was asking, if you get a bouncer question, what do I do? If you get a bouncer question, if you read Daily Post on those particular areas, then you will be able to handle that bounce. So to handle unexpected bounce can happen with only curated, validated stuff by a person who is a practitioner. And I've been a practicing technologist for at least last 12, 13 years, if not more. And finally, after moving out of the service, which I left primarily for my love and passion for technology, I practice technology of literally every kind, 24 hours a day. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So if there's nothing else, we will close. And I wish best of luck to all of you. You can get back to me whenever you require. I'll be there to help you and assist you. And we will see how life unfolds. Okay? Best of luck. Okay? Do well. God bless. Okay? Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your thoughtful words. And on behalf of India for IAS, we are very grateful and thankful. On behalf of all the participants, those who are giving the interview this year, and we wish them all. Sir, Srinivas wants to speak some words.
Who? Srinivas.
Sir, thanks a lot, sir. Our
ನೀವು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಆಗಿದೆ ಇಲ್ವಾ?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಹೌದು. ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೆಕ್ನಾಲಜಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬೂಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿತ್ತು. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ in the verge of interview preparation, sir.
Correct.
Really, it is very useful, and your rich experience always helpful for our candidates, sir.
Chalo, okay. Thank you.
In future, we will have more sessions with you, sir. And thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.